everyone and welcome back to Do You Even CSGO, the fast-paced tip series that's almost as hot as the topic of today's episode. That's right chaps, this week we're tackling the Molotov and the Incendiary grenade, so let's light it up and get down to business. Okay, so terrible fire-related puns aside, the Molotov and Incend are possibly the most underrated pieces of equipment in the game, and as such many players don't appreciate just how useful they can really be. In fact, even at the highest level of play, it took a while for pros to warm to the idea, with many analysts referencing 2014 as the year Molotov started to play a significant role in the meta, 2 years after CSGO launched. In 2016, however, there's absolutely no excuse for not understanding how to exploit our fiery friends, so let's get to know them a little bit better. While the terrorist Molotovs and the CT Incendiary grenades perform the same basic function, exploding into a pool of deadly flames upon impact that burns targets over time, there are a couple of key differences. The Molly will only set you back $400 on T side, whereas the Incend goes for a lofty $600, in line with the classic Counter-Strike principle that the CT economy should always be harder to maintain. This means that whilst terrorists should definitely consider buying Mollies most rounds, CTs will need to think more carefully about their financial situation before shelling out the cash. The Incendiary can be thrown slightly faster and through slightly smaller gaps, but has a slower weapon switch after being deployed, and while they do exactly the same damage to unarmored opponents and last the same amount of time, the Molly has higher armor penetration, meaning it will kill you faster through Kevlar. The Incend does more damage to the actual armor rather than health, but who really gives a shit about that? And as with the HG grenade in last week's video, helmets make absolutely no difference to the damage dealt. The primary purpose of Mollies on T side is to force CTs out of common hiding places so that you can shoot them in the face, plant the bomb, and win the round. These spots may be on the actual bomb site, like New Box on Inferno B, or in some other part of the map that you need to take control of during the round, like the sandbags in Banana or in mid on Cash. Using Mollies in this way is incredibly powerful because it eliminates the risk of being shot from certain angles as you move through the map, allowing you to focus on other areas without having to turn your back and check that pesky corner. This is particularly important on anti-eco rounds where it's more likely that CTs have stacked 4 or 5 players on one site, so do yourself a favour and clear out some of those hidey holes. It goes without saying that Molotovs are best used in conjunction with smokes and flashes to zone off areas and isolate the CTs holding on the site, but even if your team isn't cooperating, you can make the difference and win the round by knowing just a few set Mollies on your favourite maps. On the CT side, the Incendiary works wonders for slowing or halting terrorist aggression. As I mentioned in my grenades overview, combining smokes and Mollies at certain key choke points is a fantastic way of running down the round timer and forcing the Ts into all sorts of awkward situations. You can deploy your nade early on in the round to stop the other team gaining map control, such as mollying the mid boost on Cash, but you can also save it for later on when you've run out of smokes or you finally hear that push coming in. You might also be able to exploit any remaining Incendiaries whilst retaking your site, using them in exactly the same way as the terrorists to eliminate possible hiding spots. Once you've mastered these basics, you might also want to try a particularly adventurous tactic, namely running through your own Molotov to catch the enemy off guard and get an easy frag, as demonstrated here by Swedish pro player JW. This type of play sits firmly in the category of looks really sick if you pull it off and really fucking dumb if you don't, and its probability of success is highly situational, but hey, I thought I'd let you have some fun. Finally, if you should find yourself on the receiving end of one of these fiery nades, you're really rather short on options if you don't want to become a human barbecue. If you're trying to hold a key position, it's often tempting to back into a corner and try to survive, but as I'm sure you've noticed, the pool of fire spreads over time and this may well catch you out. In case of emergency, you can also use a smoke grenade to cancel the flames if you've got one handy, but if you're a terrorist pushing into a site, it's actually often worth charging on through, especially if you've already committed utility to an execute or you're confident in your ability to win the round. Again, this obviously depends on the situation, but I see far too many people in matchmaking get touched by a lick of flame and run crying home to their mums. Grow a set of balls, a little bit of fire never hurt anyone. And that, I guess, brings us to the end of our short mini-series on grenades in CSGO. Remember to tune in next week when we'll be taking a look at positioning, and if you have any suggestions or questions, please do scribble away in the comments below. Thanks for watching folks, I'll see you on the next one.